Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. So today what I want to do is a makeup look that looks like it would have taken loads of time, loads of skill, but it's actually quite simple to do and an effective look as well. And the reason I want to do this, I feel like I have a lot of people with a lot of different skill levels when it comes to makeup following me. And I want to do something that is easy to redo at home, accessible to everyone no matter what tools you have, and you can use whatever it is you have already at home. Because makeup is for everyone. It doesn't matter what skill level you're at or what you have at home, what makeup you have at home, whatever. You can always recreate something quite easily. So let's get into it. I want to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor of this video, and that is Cult Beauty. I personally adore Cult Beauty. Cult Beauty also have a great range of products to shop from. Whether you want something a little bit more high end, whether you want something a little bit more affordable, there's always something there. And they have a lot of brands. I like to discover new brands on Cult Beauty because they have a lot of incredible things that you might have not seen anywhere else before. And like I said before, Cult Beauty want to ensure that everybody feels included and is seen within the beauty space and beauty community. I think it's very easy to look online and see a certain way to look or a certain way to do our makeup, or maybe a certain way that, you have to do your makeup like this. Doesn't quite work with you, or, you don't want to do your makeup that way. And I think we fall into this mind frame that we have to do everything a certain way, and we really don't. Everyone is included in the beauty space, and you absolutely don't have to feel left out. So I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm using, but of course I will link everything down below for you. So let's start with the most important thing, eye primer. We absolutely need to use eye primer, and I think you've all seen me use this one before. This is a Chantecaille Next Generation Eye Base, and I actually have a shade medium here. I believe I may have used a shade light before, and it was just slightly too light for me. Chantecaille is one of my absolute favorite brands. They do some amazing products, and for a good cause as well. And the reason I like eye primers like this is I could literally go out and just wear this. Look how it corrects my eye tone. And because it's an eye primer, it's not going to crease like perhaps just using concealer on the lid would. You know how I feel about concealer on the eyelids? This is incredibly smooth on the eyes. And it doesn't feel dry in any way. So if you do worry about your eye primers being a little bit drier, you don't really need to worry too much about this. If you do get a bit drier, use your finger to warm up that product. Make it easier to blend, make it easier to move around. I really like that. I just like that slight correction. That's really nice. Really nice. Like I could literally walk out with just this in my eyes. Beautiful. I forgot to mention, throughout this whole process, I'm going to be using the Iconic London All Angles brush set. These are so cute. Can you see how it has a slight angle to every single brush? There's a few eye brushes in here, or smaller brushes you can use for various reasons. It doesn't just have to be the eyes, and a few larger face brushes. But what's nice about an angle on a brush, have you ever seen those eyeliner brushes that have a slight angle to it? It just helps with application, especially on the eyes. It makes application easier because of where you're holding the brush and the way you're holding the brush. So these are going to be incredible. And Iconic London, I mean, they're a great brand anyway, but I have seen them increase in popularity a bit more recently, and rightly so, because they have some amazing products. Let's go into the OPV Beauty London Spotlight Eyeshadow Palette. Now, I wanted to use this palette because I feel like everybody has these kind of tones. It's not a crazy palette with like specialist colors. It's just a really cool, nice palette to use. You have a bit of everything in here. You have some darker mattes and these really nice, almost like duo tone shimmers as well. So we're going to start with a shade Dazzle Light, and we're literally going to use this over the whole eye. The lid, we're going to blend it up through the socket and under the eye. Also, we'll do the under the eye after concealer. So let's just take that first. I'm going to take it on the number 9 brush from the Iconic brush set. And I'm using the flat side of her brush first to apply the shadow directly onto the lid, and I'm going to use all the angles up. That's why it's called all angles. That tip is going to take me right into that inside corner like so. Make sure we get right to the lash line. You can do this with any blending brush. And a brown shadow. I've chosen a brown shadow that has a slightly like redder undertone to it. I find them a lot easier to blend. Sometimes we can use the ones that are a little bit grayer, but then depending on what like color we're mixing with it, it can look a little bit muddy. This brown, that almost looks like velvet. That is really nice. Let's get it laid down here too. And I'm just using literally the edge of that brush to buff in and blend that brown. And I'm keeping my eyes relaxed. If we do this when we apply eyeshadow, it looks like we're blending out, and then we close, look, nothing's happened. So if I keep my eyes relaxed, I can take that shadow up as high as I need it. Softly and gently. Gradually, we're going to take our time. And then once I'm happy with the way it's blended here, I'm going to go just on the edge of where it's blended out. Can you see just here? And bring that out even more and soften that up. And the trick to this is just being light-handed. That's literally all you need to do. Be really, really light-handed. I'm using my little finger as a stopper. I can't go any, more intense than this. So I'm having my little fingers resting on my face, and I'm just going backwards and forwards. And it's almost stopping me from pressing too hard and going right into my skin, into my eyelid. I love that. I love, love, love that brown. I'm now just going to take a blending brush and just soften that edge just there, just very quickly. So I've just built up that color very slightly, and I just keep adjusting and blending until I'm happy with the intensity. Okay, I'm going to take my fingers now, and I'm going to go into the shade Notoriety, which has this really nice like greeny, blue, purple kind of shift. And I'm going to keep this mainly on my lid. And the brown base is going to make for a really good, almost like a background for this color. Yeah, look at that. Ooh. Okay, so I'm not going to take it all the way to the outside and all the way to the inside, but I'm not just keeping it on the middle either. I'm taking it like a little bit further out. Like so. I love these colors together. That green with that kind of like reddy brown is so, so cute. Okay, let's take a smaller brush. This is the number 10 from the brush set. And I'm just going to slowly, again, gently buff that corner out. Can you see? So we have a slight fade in. Good. And then through the socket as well, I just want to make sure it's rounded off nicely and that there's no like sudden like jagged areas. I love, love, love that green. Okay, let's go under the eyes and just brighten up a little bit with some concealer. And this is the Benefit Boing Industrial Strength Concealer. This was my first ever concealer, the Boing one. I loved it. I used that. And do you remember Lemonade? I used that on my eyelids. It was so just very slightly color correcting. I loved it. I'm using the shade number 2, and this is a number 7 brush from the brush set. And I'm just going to gently wash that under my eye, like so. Again, to color correct, not to like add a full-on intense coverage. It says industrial strength, but obviously it's up to you how much you build it up. And because I'm not going to use it like typical concealer where I want loads and loads of coverage, I'm not going to do like a tiny bit here, and then blend. I'm just going to gently, very gently, backwards and forwards, buff that concealer into the skin. Let's just do some subtle corrections around my nose or any areas that are like slightly redder. I love that. Seamless. Oh my god, it's been years. It's been years. Okay, let's move on to foundation and a brand that I've really been loving recently. This is LYS. I say LYS. I think I've heard people call it LYS. And this is a Triple Fix Serum Foundation. So this is going to give us a really nice natural coverage. It's not going to be too heavy. It's also a light to medium coverage. I personally do feel like if you wanted to build it up to a full coverage, it absolutely has the potential to do so. And I'm going to use the angle and just gently push and buff into the skin. It really does have that like serum like finish and texture. You can still see the skin underneath. Okay, we'll go back into our eyeshadow palette and back in with our brush number 6 into the shade Dazzle Night. Did I call it Dazzle Light before? I meant to say Dazzle Night. And just tap that along the lash line. I'm aiming for the base of the lashes to get it as close to the waterline, as possible. I love how deep and rich this brown is. It's so nice. We also have the Vibe liner pencil. This is from Honest Beauty. And I've chosen like almost like a metallic-y brown. It has this like little smudger on the end which you can use as well. But we're not going to smudge it today. We're just going to use this in a waterline. And I wanted this more bronzy tone because it kind of kept the red in with the kind of reddy tone brown eyeshadow. Like so, and I love that slight like shine as well on the waterline. So we're going to add lashes in a little bit, but let's go onto the cheeks. We're going to add a little bit of bronzer to kind of stick in theme with our eyes. And I didn't know this existed. This is a Hoola Glow jumbo size. It's huge. I'm going to take the number 3 brush from the Iconic set as well. And just get a little bit of this bronzer ready to go. And I want to aim it, keep it under the cheekbone right here. Circles, buffing circles outwards. The angles on these brushes really do, for some reason, make it so much easier to blend. I'm going to take this up around the hairline. I'm not using blush today, so I'm being quite generous with the bronzer. Okay, mascara. Now, this is one I've never used before. This is the Pacifica Vegan Collagen Fluffy Lash Mascara. And it has the most incredible brush. I love a brush that dips in the middle. I just love it because when you put it here, you're catching all those bigger, longer lashes in the middle, and on the outside corners here and here, you're getting those smaller ones, but because it's more concentrated in this bigger area, and it's almost like the coil is slightly tighter in the middle, it's going to help apply zigzag and rolling through. And it's not an overbearing mascara either. It's not applying too much product that is cakey. It's just enough. You can see my lashes are nicely coated. So for lashes, I'm going to go for the No Lash Cluster from Swede. And these are really great because they're in tiny little things. These aren't the ones that are going to stick under the lashes. They stick on top, but you have a different lengths. So you have shorter to longer, so you can go across as you like. You can just put the shorter ones across. You can do a cluster in the outside corner. Okay, so I just added a few little fluffy bits to the outside corners. They're so cute. Just add a tiny bit of a lift. Let's go in with the lips. So we're going to use Tower 28 Lip Jelly. This is a shade Oat because I like a good nude, and this just looked like this perfect peachy kind of nude. Yes, oh my god. Oh, it's so smooth. Oh, it looks really, really nice. I love this color. It goes on incredibly smooth. Although it's quite intensely glossy visually, it doesn't feel like a thick gloss on the skin. It's really, really nice and comfortable. I don't think you need perhaps that much that I use. You can use like a tiny bit less, but I kind of really like to block out my lip color. Next up, let's go in with Danessa Merrick's Beauty Evolution Powder Priming, Smoothing, Setting Powder. I'm going to take the number 5 brush from a brush set, and this is a little bit more precise because this is exactly how I want to be with it. I want to be a little bit more precise, and I don't just want to put powder like anywhere. So we're going to concentrate it just in the middle here. And we're just going to use a tiny bit to kind of set and blur ever so slightly. See how it just smooths out? A tiny bit, not completely. You can still see pores and things like that. Perfect. Okay, so this is our whole look using all these amazing products from Cult Beauty. Thank you so much again to Cult Beauty for sponsoring today's video and sending me these incredible, incredible products. I just love this eyeshadow. The finish of it, the tones, the colors. So as I mentioned earlier, I have linked everything below for you. Go ahead and check them out. And don't forget to use my discount code, which I will leave below and right here for you as well. Thank you so much again for joining me, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.